color right here and make it, because this is a little bit too dark there. And create a little bit, oops, pick dark black, and let me just pull there more shadow. Don't want to make it too dark. Okay. And maybe still a little bit right here. Let me zoom out, rotate, and do a little bit of darker right here. Switch to white. And I'm sorry, but there's not really much to say in this specific process right now. All you want to do is actually really trying to give shape to our vehicle. Black. Let's shade this area a little bit more. Let's make it a little bit darker right here. Creating some sort of soft shadow edge. Let me zoom in there a little bit. So everywhere where you see this curvature by section line, you want to put a little bit of a light edge. And so maybe this becomes also brighter. And this and maybe put a little bit of contrast and shading that more. Alrighty. So let's see where we are. Okay. Looks pretty good till now. Now, talking from a 3D perspective, from a like if you're working in a 3D program, I guess this would be some sort of a some sort of a ground shading, so you just see really the initial shading of your 3D object. And that's actually how we render this. We first bother with the overall shape and building up more and more passes, like glossy pass or reflection pass, and then you can build it up. And yeah, like just strategically creating this rendering. Okay, we have to pull it up. It was too soft. And let's see. Well, this looks good. Let me make that a little bit darker so that we have a contrast to this area right here. And let's delete everything that we don't want to be in shadow. Create a new layer. Oops. And maybe working a little bit more on the highlights. Oh, we have to switch to the DLO. Let me undo that. We have to, of course, to click on it so that we have the selection, so that we don't draw out of it. And then building up. And it's getting slowly transparent. And maybe do another highlight. And bothering a little bit more about this shape. Switch to black, create a new layer. So same thing like with the exterior we are doing now with DLO. Okay, let's go back to the exterior actually. So you see we have a bunch of layers, but as I said, we will merge them in a little bit. And Control D to die select, and Control click on the shape so that we can create a new the selection for the silhouette. And let me just shape that a little bit more. So like that. And give a little bit of brightness down there. So as if there is a little bit of illuminating light coming from the ground. And by the way, we will create a ground as well, some sort of floor, so that it will look much more dramatic. And let's see what we can do else. Oh, we can actually render this area right here as well. So we have to go down and create a new that bright. And go a little bit darker right there. And as you can see, this is what I really meant in the beginning of the tutorial. The more precise you do your sketch, the better you can render it. Like this area right here, it is not really clean. It's dirty, and so we can't really see through it. And but it's not that dramatic, hopefully. And let's see, what else can we do? We can certainly go on top there. And nope, not bright. Make it dark. And maybe here a little bit brighter. Thinner brush. Okay. Now I don't want it to look too edgy, so I have to balance it out again with a bigger brush. And again, putting out some highlights. Okay, we are already in a sec. Just want to put more details here. Put a little bit of highlight right there. And it's a lot of eyeball guessing sometimes. I guess if a 3D modeler would get this rendering, he will figure out actually which shapes make sense and which actually doesn't. Okay, and make a new layer. Go to the accumulator and hit this right here. So it looks like a chessboard, and it's the same function like the selection. You will just be able to draw within this layer. And let's render that quickly, or shade it as well a little bit. Zoom out. And let's see. Okay, this area is a little bit dirty. I want to correct it a little bit. It looks a little bit too turbulent, like a little bit. It's not like very curvy, but like here's coming something out, so we have to correct that. Create a new layer. And how can we make that? Let me think about it for a sec. Maybe with a bigger brush, because the smaller you go, the more you run the risk to create sort of shapes that are actually not supposed to be there, like this, right here. Um, let me darken that area a little bit more. And maybe putting a little bit brighter lights there. Alrighty, we are finished in a sec. Okay. Okay, I think that's fair enough. So we have the initial ground shading slash block out. Okay, so what we will do next is select all the layers within the exterior folder, but without the shape, and right click merge layers. And so now we have just one layer right here. You see? And what we could do is go to image, adjustment, and levels, and pull up the highlights maybe a little bit more, and pull down the darker tones. Or actually not, we will do that later on. We will first duplicate this layer, and now you can see there's much more contrast, but you know, I don't like this one. So because this is too dark, this is too bright, we need to have more control over it. So we will play around with some of the modes right here. So first I want to do a brightness pass. So let's actually, with the cursor, you can actually go through there and check what you can do. Okay, so this could be good as a highlight pass. Pretty good. Control L, shortcut for levels, and pull up the lights like that. Okay. And so, you know, as you can see, like this area doesn't fit really. This is too bright. You know, this is a little bit too dirty, and you know, this is not correct. And what we can do very easily now, take our eraser and make sure to take a soft brush and to erase all the areas that we don't like or that are too bright. And so let's take the eraser brush and let's delete it. Delete everything that is too bright. Like so, like so. Like this area is certainly too bright. Or like this area is too bright as well. So we want to put our focus on the rear actually. Okay. And then let's duplicate it again, or let's duplicate the original layer. And let's pull that down and play around again with the mode. Like, this looks interesting. So that's our next layer, lighting layer or reflection layer. Duplicate it again. And now let's do a shading layer. Let's see what works. Maybe this one, and lower the opacity like that, for instance. Okay. Let's switch to the DLO for a moment and check out what we can do there. Duplicate it again, and let's see what we can do there. Like this, color dodge. This looks interesting. Okay. And now that we've played around with it a little bit, we can create a new layer and correct some areas manually again. Where we think needs to be more shadow or more highlight. This actually looks a little bit maybe doing a little bit of brightness here. Okay, great. Let me just switch from multiply to divide and lower the opacity. So, you know, this is how it looks without the line drawing. It depends how intense you render it. If you really kill it and put lots of hours, you will certainly you wouldn't need to keep it. But from my point of view, keeping the sketch inside there makes it much more fresher and differentiates it from a 3D rendering, for instance. Because this is not 3D rendering, this is an illustration, a 2D illustration. So it's always good to keep that freshness in there. So let's pull it up a little bit to, let's say 32, and we can always come back and adjust it. Okay, so like this, and let's see what we can actually do with this shape. So if I hit Control U, oops, I have to unlock Control U. And let's see what happens if we make it brighter. Okay, so we can say we have a bright vehicle, or we can make it dark, really. You know, it depends on your wish, what you like. Let's actually take something like like that. And we can then increase the shadow area or the shadow pass. Okay. Okay, so to get a little bit more of not doing the same, we will actually do something else now. Let's work on let's see. Let's actually work on the shadow, on the drop shadow that the vehicle drops. Let's create a new layer, go to paths and select our layer path, and again click the circle, go to dark, fill it in. Okay, and as you can see, we have some issues right here, but this is not a problem. We have to figure out where it comes from. I see. Okay. Okay, this is the brush strokes that we did. So control click and control shift I to invert, delete. And let's make sure we do it with all of those. Control D. Okay, pretty nice. So now go to our shadow. Let's rename it because we don't want chaos. Shadow. And now we can actually go to filter, blur. Maybe put a Gaussian blur right there. Let me see if we pull it up. Let's zoom out. This looks good. This looks good as well. Okay, we can fix that area. Hit OK. But for a first pass, it looks good. We can lower the intensity a little bit more and maybe move it a little bit more to the side and duplicate it and make it a little bit smaller so that we have an increasing shadow. Maybe like so. Increasing it. Okay, pretty good. Let's go back to the exterior. Excuse me. As you can see, I switch a lot because you don't want to focus only on one task, because it becomes a little bit boring. It's more challenging to switch between doing the shadow, doing background, doing the rendering, the initial rendering. So no, it keeps it much more interesting. Okay, let's see, what else can we do? Let's actually duplicate the soft light or increase it. No, because I see in this area it's a little bit too bright. We need contrast there. So we will create a new layer, brush, zoom in there, R for rotating, and very easily just on top of that. Same with this. be a little bit darker right here. Maybe like so. Excuse me. Okay, pretty good. Let's see, I actually don't like this right here because, you know, it's dark and then bright. It looks like a warpy shape, you know, like this is concave, but it's not. It's actually curvy, so we have to fix that. Create maybe brighter. Okay, much better.